All right, thank you, Susan. Um, yes, this is our final week, so we've talked about what Facebook looks like. We've talked about sharing our stuff. We've talked about uh, taking in content from other people, and today is all about protection, security, and setting up our Facebook interactions so that we feel good about what other people can see. So the whole time today, I am hoping to share my screen. I am gonna hop right over there now so you can see the various places where you can manage your information on Facebook. So this is our feed. Just like always, it is our home base. And the first thing I want to show you is something that we actually did look at last week when making a post, but it is how to limit who can see one of your posts. So I am going to navigate to my profile where I have a post waiting for me. It's this button with my profile picture and my name. I am going to scroll down to a post that I have made, this Handelman Gathering Space post that we looked at last week. And I am going to click the little ellipses in the top right corner of that post. From there, I have many options, but the ones that I want to point out to you are who can comment on your post and edit audience. So we're actually going to start with edit audience. It is the little globe picture for me, since I have this public. And if I click that, I can choose for this particular post, not for all of my posts, not for everything I ever put out there, but for this particular post, I can choose who I want to allow to see it. So like I said, for me, this post is public. Everybody can see this post as far as I'm concerned. But if I so chose, I could limit it to my friends except somebody who I didn't want to see it. I could limit it to particular friends if it applied to them. I could limit it to only me, and so on and so forth. With custom, you can make it what you want it. If I am okay with my audience for my post, but I'm just tired of people commenting on it, or maybe I don't want any comments in the first place, I can instead click who can comment on your post, and then I can choose who I want to allow to comment. So maybe I don't want the whole world, even though they can see my post, I don't want them to comment. I only want my friends to be able to comment, for example. And as this notes here, this choice is also only for this particular post. It only applies in this example to my post about the Handelman Gathering Space. It doesn't apply to anything else I've done. So you may ask, I don't want to have to go to every single post and limit it. How can I make a blanket statement about how I want my posts to be accessible? Well, you can go right up here to the top right, this little down arrow says account when you hover over it. Scroll down to settings and privacy, which has this little gear button. Click on that and click on privacy checkup. This one that has a lock with a little, I think it's a badge next to it. And Facebook has thoughtfully put together an easy to follow list of questions so you can set up your privacy settings how you like them. We're just going to go through them fairly quickly because individual questions will be different for different people. But this is a good home base to walk through all of the various things that you might not even think of are possible to limit on Facebook. So we'll start here at the top left. Who can see what you share? We just did that for an individual post. This is going to be blanket statement for all your posts unless you change that individual setting. Who can see it? First of all, it's your profile information. This isn't even a post. This is just the information that you fill out when you originally get Facebook. And you can see a list of lots of different bits of information about me. And then each one of them has a little button over here that is clickable so you can set who you want to be able to see that information. So for example, here's my phone number. I want Facebook to know my phone number because I use it for two-step verification, which we'll talk about today. I might use it if I forget my password, but I don't really want anyone out in the world to see it, even people who I choose to be Facebook friends with. So I have chosen only me as my option for phone number so that even if someone is friends with me on Facebook, even if they're one of my closest friends, what have you, they cannot see that bit of information from my profile. There are many bits of information here. We don't need to go through all of them, but for each little bit of information, you get to choose who can see it and who cannot see it. I do want to look at this last section though, friends and following. So all of this top information is information you have typed in when creating your profile. The friends and following is constantly changing as you make new friends, as you accept new friendships, as you like new pages, as you interact on Facebook. These lists will be constantly updating, and you can decide if you want people to be able to see that or not. So, for example, typically I am looking at someone on Facebook and I like to see if we have mutual friends. So I have it so that my friends can see who my other friends are. That way we know if we kind of know someone in common. If I didn't want that to be the case, I could make it so no one could see who my friends are. Or if I felt like sharing that with the world, I could also make it more public. Same thing with people, pages, and lists. Yes, Myra, you have a question.
Am I unmuted now?
There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry. My original profile, which my husband decided to do for me without even asking a long time ago. My education is not incorrectly. How would I correct that?
So that's a good question. Editing all this information happens from your profile. And if we get through all the security stuff, we can definitely do that at the end. Excuse me, I drank down the wrong pipe. However, you could, from here, just choose to hide that, make it visible to only you, so then no one would see the incorrect information. And I don't know that many people are that interested in education information right now on Facebook anyway, so that could be a good temporary option, even if you don't get it updated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now here we are at posts and stories. What we've been talking about, the content that you put out there. Who do you, generally speaking, want to see it? So for future posts, things that I will have yet to post, I have chosen that the public can see it. You could choose that just your friends could see it. Again, all the same options like on an individual post, but this is a blanket statement for all of your posts. Your stories are those little bits up at the top. We haven't really talked about them. Most of the time, I'd say people might post them if they're more active on something like Instagram or another one of Facebook's sister apps. But nonetheless, I feel like my posts are my public life, and if I ever wanted to say something to just my friends, I would put it in my stories. So I have limited it to friends. And then if I want to retroactively change how my past posts have been, let's say right now I am feeling good about sharing my posts publicly, but tomorrow I change my mind and I don't want that to be the case anymore. I can choose this and limit how it is that my past posts interact. And you can see it gives me this pop-up warning. It makes it more difficult to undo it. So you would have to go back and publicize every post again if I wanted to change my mind again. But blanket statement, if you've been having public posts and now that we've had this course, you're like, oh no, I really don't want my posts to be public, this is where you can retroactively change the setting for all of your previous posts. Okay, and then finally, blocking people. So blocking people could be useful for someone you know in real life. I'm sure there are situations where that is necessary. The situation where I block people the most often is if somebody sends me a friend request and I don't know who they are, and it's clear that it's just somebody sending out a lot of public friend requests, then I go ahead and block them because I'm not interested in that sort of interaction on Facebook. So I can either add someone by name by clicking this button, or when one of those strange occurrences pops up, I can do that from their friend request. It's one of the options as a button. I don't know if you can see here, I have blocked 28 people, and I have been on Facebook for quite a long time with a public profile. So it's not a super prevalent problem, but it is an option if you just do not want to interact with someone. Yes, Myra.
Yes, I have gotten requests for friends, and they're people like with foreign names and people I've never seen in my life. Does Facebook do that? Does that mean I've been hacked? Why would I get those?
Neither. Facebook doesn't do it, nor have you been hacked. It is just one of those things about living life on the internet. When you are out there, for some reason, some people decide that they are going to send out Facebook friend requests for any numerous reasons to whoever they can find. So that is exactly what I'm talking about, that I just block these folks and then I don't have to worry about them ever again. But unless I am purposefully interacting with them, there's not a danger from receiving a friend request from someone that I don't know. I would have to take steps to put myself at risk from that.
So to piggyback on Myra's question, what Sam's talking about, so blocking somebody is different from rejecting a friend request. There might be somebody who sends you a friend request who you may know the person, but you don't especially want to be friends with that person on Facebook because you don't know the person well. You can not accept that friend request, but you haven't blocked that person. Blocking somebody, if you block someone, that person, if they wanted to search for you, they could never find you again. So that's like more reserved for people who you really don't want to have an interaction with.
Lovely, thank you, Susan, for the clarification. Is that the same hand or a new question, Myra?
I hope I lowered it. I didn't know how it worked.
Okay, no problem. All right, so we have done it. We have looked at the settings for all of our content that we are putting out there. And again, if you ever want to do that, you get there from this arrow up top, settings and privacy, privacy checkup, and then that was the first little choice, the orange one, who can see what you share. We're going to hop over to the next one, how to keep your account secure. And the first way you keep your account secure is, of course, with a password. So if I decide that I don't want my password to be what I have it set as, if I have set my password as the same thing for every online account that I have, and now I've learned that that is not the best idea, or if I just feel like changing my password, this is where you can do it from the blue option in the privacy checkup. If I am content with my password, I move on. The next question is about two-factor authentication. So I have my password, but just in case that password ever gets compromised or I log in and forget to log out in a public place or whatever, I can set up two-factor authentication, which means that in addition to typing in my password, I will need to access another device or access my information on the same device to verify that it's really me logging in. So you can do that with a phone number, and it will send you a text message with a code, or you can do it with a phone number that has an app, and it will send you a little button to push notification from your Facebook app. You can do it from with an email address, and it will send you an email with either a link or a code to type in. So that the idea is, in addition to your Facebook credentials, you also have to have your text messaging or email credentials to verify that it's really you logging in as you. It can be a little bit of a pain if you're logging in and out often, but generally speaking, I have it on most things. It doesn't really bother me, and I think it's a great extra layer of protection. And then another layer of protection is alerts. So if, for example, I were here logged in on my Facebook and all of a sudden someone else, or most likely me on a different device, logged in on a different device, I would get an alert that could be a Facebook notification, which is this top option, meaning it would pop up here under this little bell, or it could be an email sent to the email addresses that I have provided to Facebook. And Facebook would let me know that someone has logged in from another device other than where I currently am. For me, I log in and out on different devices fairly frequently, so I don't have that on. I don't need to know every single time. But if you are a one device user, this could be a great third layer of protection. So you would know just in case there was a compromising situation. With that, we have finished the blue section. We are keeping our account secure. Okay, the next section, the purple section, is how people can find you on Facebook. I think this is a little bit confusing. It seems very similar to who can see your stuff, but seeing your stuff, the orange one, is once someone has already found you. purple is how people can find you in the first place. So if you are not friends with someone, that is what this purple section is about. So first of all, who can ask you to be friends? For me, everyone. I am perfectly content with wading through any spam that I get, like we saw in my blocked list. I'm happy for anyone who would like to be my Facebook friend to ask me, and I will make the decision then. Alternatively, if I know that I want to keep my Facebook small, if I'm not using it for people out in the public, I could choose to only allow friends of friends, so mutual friends, to request my friendship. That means I would have to already be friends with my brother, for example, for his girlfriend, who is also friends with him, to ask for my Facebook friendship. It is totally a personal choice about who you want to have the ability to ask for your friendship. Before folks can even ask for your friendship, though, they have to find you. So you can choose if someone out in the world can look you up by just your Facebook name or by other information. The other information can be your phone number or your email address. And I don't want people finding me by my phone or my email address. I only want people finding me the regular Facebook channels. So I have limited those lookups to just people who I'm already friends with. Alternatively, you could decide that you only want people to be able to find you by your email address, for example. Perfectly fine also. And then what about not on Facebook? So if I am on Google and I search Samantha Wendling, it will not, hopefully, pull up my Facebook profile. It could still potentially have pictures that I have shared. It still could potentially have my content that is public, but it will not link directly to my Facebook profile for people to see all my content and to friend me. If I am fine with Google directing people to my Facebook, then I just slide this slider right over. So on this topic, it is kind of difficult sometimes for people to find each other on Facebook. So I believe I said this in the very first session. I don't know what session it was. Generally speaking, I think it's a great idea to talk with one of your friends in real life before you add them on Facebook, before you friend them on Facebook, and before they try and find you. So you can make sure you're searching for the correct name, that you kind of know what profile picture you're looking for. And that way you can be sure that the account that you're friending is correct and vice versa. Okay, now the next two topics, green and pink, they are like the hot button issues that you hear about on the news. Is Facebook taking my data and what are they doing with it? You get to pick right here in this green section. So, and don't worry, we will delve into this a little bit further after just their quick questions. Apps and websites from third parties, you've probably heard the term third parties, are other internet sources that can interact with your Facebook. So for example, Spotify is a music platform, Microsoft is my email and calendaring and everything platform, iOS is my phone. I want those third parties to be able to interact seamlessly with my Facebook profile. So Spotify, for example, I don't do this very often, but if I'm listening to a song and I decide that I really like it and I want to share it with the world through a post or with one of my friends specifically through a Facebook message, then I want to just click the button and have it be super easy. So I have set up this channel between my Facebook account and my Spotify account and said that it's okay for them to share information. If you are good with the third parties having the information, leave them right here on the list. If you are not, you can come to this list and I'll show you another way to get to it so you don't have to go through all the checklists, and just browse through, see the apps and the websites that are interacting with your Facebook account and do some tidying. Make sure that the third parties that are there are the ones you want to be there, and just click remove these buttons on the side for any that you don't want to have your Facebook information. Okay, next step is ads. Same sort of thing. You can decide how personalized you want your ads to be, and what that really means is what information, generally speaking, in a demographic sort of sense, you're okay with Facebook using to personalize your ads for you. So I am in marketing. I like making targeted ads. So I'm kind of okay with Facebook having access to some of my information to decide what they're going to try to sell me or what companies the ads will be targeted to me. I'm okay with them knowing that I'm married, my former employer, my education, and so I have these blue sliders open. If I don't want them to see that I'm married or any of my other information, I can just click that off, and then the ads will be less targeted. For me, the logarithm will not be accessing this information to determine if I fall in the demographic of a target ad. I will still have ads, they just won't be targeted. And then finally, I can decide if I'm okay with other people, like my friends or pages, people that I'm interacting with, if I'm okay with them seeing other stuff that I'm into. So this is an example of a made up ad from Jasper's Market. And if Susan had this ad populated on her feed, she might see that Samantha Wendling liked this page. So what she's really seeing is an ad for this page. She's not seeing something that I have posted or I have created, but she can see in looking at it that maybe this might be of interest to her because her friend, Samantha Wendling, is interested in this in some way. It's just another way of an ad trying to get a little bit of personal connection with the person they're targeting by showing that some of your friends already like this, whatever it is that they're selling. I'm okay with my friends seeing it. That's totally fine with me. If I don't want my friends to see what I have liked, if I have liked an organization or a page that is sending them an ad, then I can limit it here by choosing only me. Okay, so that was a fantastic walkthrough. I love that Facebook has that. They kind of guide you through the big steps, but it's also not all encompassing. So for example, in this green one, the data settings, it showed me that I had 3 third-party softwares that my Facebook account is interacting with, but I suspect that I might have some more than that. So if I want to dig in a little deeper, I will come back up here to settings and privacy. And instead of choosing privacy checkup, which gives me this nice walkthrough, I'm going to go to settings with the gear where I can access all of the questions, make sure everything is exactly how I want it to be, and really fine tune it even more. So I'm going to start again with click the wrong thing. Just go back to settings. There we go. With security and login. And this is where I can really dig into some of those questions that were just kind of a summary before. So I talked to you about the alerts. When, in addition to having a strong password, in addition to having two-step verification, if we decide to, we can also set up alerts. So if we log in somewhere else or on a different device than usual, Facebook will let us know. I don't have alerts set up. I don't want to know all of my logins, but every now and again, I might be curious and I might want to see, or maybe if I can't remember if I logged out when I was at the library. From here, security and login, I can see where you're logged in. So if I click see more, it's a little overwhelming for me. I can see where I'm logged in currently. This says active now. This is the computer that I'm using. I can see that I'm also logged in on the Facebook app on my phone, on the Messenger on my phone. And if I decide that one of these is not me, or it was at the library and I don't want to be logged in there anymore, I can click these three little dots over here and either say not you or log out. Not you kind of puts you through a rigmarole, but it's really easy to just log out somewhere and then you know your stuff isn't still open at that computer at the library. Also, another place to get to changing the password is right here. You can change your password. You can decide whether or not you want browsers, that's what you're using to access Facebook, like Chrome. If you want it to save your information, same with your app. And then it has the same sort of questions that we went through in the checkup. If you want two-factor authentication, if you want to have alerts about other logins, so on and so forth. The other thing that we want to really look at here is this third-party data question again. So all of this information up here kind of gives you an overview of what we're talking about, and it lets us know that some stuff is public. So my profile is public. The content that I post is public, whether I give a third-party source access to it or not, because the general public on the internet has access to it. On the other hand, there is non-public data, which is what is in effect possible to be shared by these sources that I am looking at in my list. And that is the stuff that I have somewhere in my Facebook account, but that I have limited. So like I said before, I want some of that seamless integration. It's not, blanket statement, all a bad thing to have apps and websites able to interact with my Facebook profile. I want Spotify, I want Microsoft, I want my Apple operating system to have that sort of seamless transition when I'm going from one thing to the other. But if there were other things here, let's see what I have removed. These are all really old, so none are a very good example, but it used to be that you could do quizzes on Facebook and you can allow it to have access. Well, let's say I did some cute little quiz about which Harry Potter character I am, and I was able to share it on my profile. Great, it was fun, and now I don't want them to have access anymore. No problem. I can come here to this list and just click remove. I think I heard something, but I don't see any hands up. Okay, same thing down here. I can decide whether I want to be able to use Facebook to interact on particular games or other interactions. A lot of times you can use your Facebook credentials to log in to something that you don't really want to set up a brand new account for. I'm okay with that. I manage my security another way, so I have those on. If I wanted to, I could turn that off here. You can really have as much or as little clamp down as you feel comfortable with, and you can always change it. So if you want to start out with everything really super secure, you can remove all of these, turn off the third-party sharing down here, and then when it comes up on a one-off basis, you can say, oh, you know what, I really do want to allow Spotify to have that information so that I can share the songs with my sister or whatever. Any questions on that part? Okay, awesome. I love it when I see people shaking their heads to questions. Okay, if I go back to settings, the next thing I want to look at is ads. So if I am really bothered by some particular ads, like maybe I was interested in Prezi, that's what I was using for my presentations past weeks actually. But now I am sure I don't want it and I'm tired of them having ads on my Facebook. This is where I can come to hide the ads from that particular company. Again, it doesn't mean it'll hide all ads. The ad space will just be replaced by something else. But that way I can limit what it is that I'm seeing if there's something in particular, a particular company or organization that I don't want to see. If there's just a general idea that might be a little sensitive that I don't want to see, I can go back over here to the left menu and choose add topics. So rather than limiting a particular brand itself, I am limiting a topic that may be sensitive for some folks. So for example, I am limiting ads about alcohol. I don't really want to see them. Some people in my family have trouble with alcoholism. I just don't need it in my life. So I chose see fewer. Similarly, people may have sensitivities surrounding these other choices, parenting, pets, social issues, elections, or politics. So they can choose to see fewer of those ads. It doesn't guarantee that you won't see any, but it is trying to do its best to limit those sensitive topics that you don't want to see on your feed. And then finally, ad settings. This is kind of the same thing as the data sharing, but it can get even more specific, and you can kind of hone what information companies, brands are using to target ads to you. So I can choose, I'm not going to go into all of these sections because it can get really particular, but let's see. I'm going to choose categories used to reach you. And sorry, I did that very quickly. I'm going to do that a little bit more slowly. Categories used to reach you is right here, the second choice. And just like in our checkup, I have said it's okay for ads to be targeted to me based on my employer, my job title, education, relationship status. But down here are these categories that I can kind of tell brands about myself to hone the ads that I'm seeing. So this data originally pops up based on the logarithm, based on what I'm clicking, what I'm interacting with. But if I want to target that or control how it's being targeted to me a little more, this is where I can come to give Facebook some guidance on what my interests really are versus what they aren't. So I am interested in Kamala Harris. I'm fine with seeing ads that might appeal to someone who is interested in her. But you know what? This is a great example. I don't really need to see anything about most of these other categories. I'm very far from retirement, so I'm going to remove that one. And now that little tiny bit of information that somehow feeds into the big equation on how Facebook decides to target ads to me to show particular ads in my feed, it's going to have a little bit better picture of me to know that I'm not actually interested in retirement, and I don't need to see the ads about that. Just like the third parties, I can click to see more, and there are lots and lots and lots. It is all sorts of little tiny bits of data that have been gathered about me, and I can choose to remove whichever ones that I want and keep whichever ones that I want. That is really what this section is all about, and it has lots of little tiny tidbits of data when you drop down from all of these various arrows. And the information about each of these sections, and also a little bit of an overview about how personalized ads work are up here along the top. So another common question is, does Facebook sell my data? No, they're not giving your data to the brand who is advertising to you to put you on a list, but they are using the data to, when a brand says, okay, I want to send this ad to the feed of people who are interested in Kamala Harris, that is how Facebook determines where to put the ad that they're buying. They're not giving that information to the brand, they're just using it to target the ad of the brand. Does that part make sense? Okay, awesome. This is wonderful. Okay, we are going to go back to our home base, this blue Facebook logo over here, to get to my feed. You never know what's going to be on my feed when I'm using it live. And the other place that I think security is really important is Marketplace. And generally speaking, I feel pretty good saying, you know, if you don't really need to use Marketplace for a lot, limit yourself to people who you have mutual friends with. That is the safest way to go. And then you just don't have to worry about a lot of the common problems with Facebook Marketplace. So, and that's what I personally do. It's tempting. I see all this stuff for sale that might be a good deal, but it makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't like to do a lot of wheeling and dealing, and I don't have time for it anyway. So if there is something that I'm looking for example, I needed some bunk beds, or I am in some swap groups that use Marketplace, what I usually do is make sure that I have at least one mutual friend with the person selling the item. So I bought some bunk beds for my little boys on Facebook Marketplace, and I felt comfortable doing so, which means I felt comfortable messaging the person. I felt comfortable choosing a place to meet in real life. I felt comfortable sending that person what to me is a large sum of money. It was $250 using my bank app. And I felt comfortable bringing the item into my house from this person because we have a mutual Facebook friend who I know is reliable. That being said, there are other people who have a lot bigger comfort zone and interact with people who they don't have mutual friends with. It is totally up to you. So we're going to look at a few things that could be red flags on Marketplace. Of course, I want to find them live, so we may or may not be able to find perfect examples of this, but we can kind of go along with it. Let's choose a big ticket item from up here. I'm not saying this is necessarily true about this particular car, but when I'm doing my research on Facebook Marketplace, some red flags are that the price just seems not right. I can't really imagine buying a car for $2,000 that says it's in great condition. Maybe that's what it's worth. I would check on Kelley Blue Book, but if the price seems too good to be true, that's a red flag. Similarly, there's kind of just a bland picture. There's not a lot of pictures. That might be a red flag to me. If I'm still thinking, okay, this is something of interest and I want to dig in a little deeper, that I can use some of this information over here on the right side to see what I'm getting myself into. So I can read the description, make sure that seems legitimate. Typos, lots of spelling errors, that makes me nervous, although it doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong. I can click on the person who is the seller, and I can see that this person doesn't have a profile picture that I can see, doesn't have a cover photo that I can see. It could be because they have it limited and I am not their friend, or it could be a little bit of a red flag to me. When I see that they have the same thing listed in many different places, that seems a little bit strange to me. And if I go to their profile and see that they don't have a lot going on and don't have a lot of friends and what have you, that might be a red flag to me as well. So again, this could be a totally fine post, but those are just some things to look out for if you do choose to use Facebook Marketplace, to make sure that you're really getting what you pay for if you choose to pay for it. Facebook is able to accept payments through Facebook, but more likely people using Facebook Marketplace will use a different form of payment like Venmo or Cash App. And it's also important to keep in mind with those, so we're not going to go down that whole rabbit hole, that it is kind of the same thing as handing off cash. So once the transaction is done, it's done. And then you have made the transaction whether or not the item really seems true or not. So other tips I've heard for Facebook Marketplace are if you are picking something up or dropping something off for someone, do so in a public place like a police station. Wait until you're actually transacting the item to transact the money. And when in doubt, or if you're just nervous about it, only buy and sell things to folks with mutual friends. Okay, so that was our quick guide to Marketplace. We will navigate right back here to our feed, and we have a couple more minutes to entertain any questions before we go. Yes.
Sam, I'm wondering with the few minutes that we have left, if you could go over what information in general people allow the public to see, what people keep private. I know it's going to be personal preference, but for example, you may want to have the birthday public, but not the year, so that people can wish you a happy birthday, but not necessarily know how old you are. Things like that.
Yes. So good question. It is totally personal, and I have a fairly open Facebook account because I like people to be able to find me, and it's kind of my field. But like Susan said, you can think through each of the little bits of information to show just the part that you want people to see, rather than needing to have it wide open. So we love birthdays on Facebook. It's fun to wish each other happy birthday. It's nice to see when someone has it coming up. But just like Susan said, maybe you don't want people to know how old you are. You could limit that. You can limit, you can you might also want to limit not just the information that you're putting out there, but the information that can be put on your profile. So kind of like we were talking about with who can comment on the posts, who can see your own posts. I may choose that only my friends or that no one can post about me on my profile. I might not really want to do that because I want those birthday posts, or I might really want to have total control over what is on my profile, knowing that other people, my friends, for example, would be able to see that in the long run. I don't think there are very many instances where people need to see your phone number, where people need to see your email address. Chances are people will have a different channel of getting that information if they need it from you. And I don't think Facebook is necessary for that. Other common things, maybe if you are worried about tags, right here is where I was going, is reviewing. So this can give you an extra step to know whether or not you're okay. Someone had asked about a picture that they don't like of themselves. You could turn on reviewing so that you can get an alert and make sure you're okay with whatever post you've been tagged in, whatever picture, before it actually goes on your profile. It won't delete it from whoever has done the original post, but it will prevent it from being linked to you. And if you're not sure if you go in here and you change your settings and you're not sure what other people can see, also on this page, which I'll show you how to get to, settings and privacy, settings, and then privacy over here. It looks like a lock with a person on it. And then profile and tagging. This is where you can see what your profile looks like to other people. So you have just made up your mind, you have hidden your phone number, your email address, but when you go on your profile, you can still see them. This is where you can go to see what your profile looks like to somebody else who is not you. You can see that mine is, even right then, different for someone else besides me. And that's a good way to check if you've actually accomplished what it is you're trying to accomplish. Don't know if that was the best answer to that question, but hopefully it can help give some guidance. Any other questions? Marilyn.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, great.
What if you have a friend that you don't want your other friends to know? So when they see all your friends, you can't see that specific person.
You can't limit the visibility of a particular friend in your friend list, but you could limit the visibility of your entire friend list. Which then your other friends wouldn't be able to see the friends who you're not limiting either, but that could be an option.
Okay.
And we got to that. I think the easiest way to get to that is from the privacy checkup and who can see what you share. It's buried in there. Right here, friends and following, who can see your friends list.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay, wonderful. I put a link in the chat, and I also gave it to Susan if that might be easier, of an article I found on Consumer Reports that goes over many of these privacy settings that we have gone over today, because I know it's a lot, and it gives step-by-step instructions for each little bit. So like one of the topics that it says is limit data collection by Facebook partners. And then it says step-by-step instructions for how you can actually do that the same way that we just did here. So if you want to have something to refer back to, that's a good link to save. I think that's it for me.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, thank you for being here. This was an amazing 4-part series. It's a lot of information. Just keep practicing, keep going over it. Sam, you are fantastic. You have given us such valuable information. You've given us your time, your expertise, and we appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
And everybody keep Facebooking. Just keep practicing.
Okay. Bye.
See you
Thanks,
another
everybody.
time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.